Hi everyone, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to another video. Today's video is part of my Not Too Shabby Stamps design team project, and because of that, there's going to be a code down in the description box for 10% off your order for the Not Too Shabby shop. Today's video is a little bit different for me. Today I want to share with you a virtual card class. Now this is a project that you can use if you teach card classes. So I'm going to have a free printable instruction over on my blog as well, so you can hand that out to your students, and I want to walk you through all the steps of prepping this and then also assembling this project. If you don't teach classes, that's okay. This is a great project to make in a set of cards, so to have in your stash or to give away as a gift, so keep watching. To make this project, I am using this MFT die set, and it's called Mailbox. Now this is available in the Not Too Shabby shop, so be sure to grab that code down there if you want to do some shopping. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is make my card bases. You can definitely buy pre-made card bases. I find they're not sturdy enough for me, and I like all of my white papers to match. I'm just a little crazy like that. So I make my own. I am using 110-pound cardstock, and this is 8.5 by 11 inches, the standard US size paper. I'm going to take that whole sheet of cardstock and place it in my paper trimmer, measuring long ways. I've got the long side horizontal, and I'll put my card at 5.5. I'm going to score right down the center. Then I can take my paper, rotate it 90 degrees, and then I'll cut it at 4.25. Now this is a way to score once and cut once instead of cutting once and scoring twice. That was suggested by one of my viewers, so thank you for that suggestion. Once the cardstock is cut, then I can go ahead and just fold it over and give it a good crease with my bone folder, and there's my card base ready to go. These are top folding card bases. I will leave a link down below that shows how to make all kinds of card bases. So if you would rather do a side folding A2 card base, that'll be linked down in the description box below. Now, once I have each one of my card bases made, I like to put them in their own individual holder. This is just going to separate the projects so I don't have a bunch of die cuts all in one pocket. So I like to put them in their own individual stamp pocket. I will leave a link to these over on Amazon. These are cheaper, so if they break, they're not going to break the bank as much as your more expensive pocket folders. Once that's ready to go, it's time to start cutting the panels that will go onto that card base. The first is a heavyweight white cardstock panel. It's 110 pounds, and I'm cutting it down to 3.5 inches across by 4.75 inches long. And then it's time for the craft mat. Now this is going to be 1/4 inch larger. So this is 3.75 inches across by 5 inches long. So once you put your mat down, it's going to end up being an 1/8 inch mat all the way around. If this is going a little bit too fast for you, don't worry. Over on my blog, in the directions, you're going to find all these measurements that you can print out and have on hand. Now once I have all of my panels cut, I'm going to take one of my white cardstock panels and one of my craft panels and tuck it into one of those pockets along with the card base. This just keeps everything nice and separate and ready to go. Now it's time for the die cutting. I'm going to take these 3 pieces from the MFT Mailbox die set and die cut them from red cardstock. Cut each of these pieces once for each card base. So I have 6 card bases. I'll cut this 6 times. Now it's time to move on to craft cardstock, and I will die cut that long rectangle, the mailbox post, and I will die cut that once for each card base that I need. I'm also die cutting the little mailbox piece and the mailbox flag, and I'll do that again 6 times for my 6 card bases. Next is the green cardstock, and on that green cardstock, I'm going to die cut the 2 grass pieces. Again, I need 1 each of these for each card project that I'm doing. I'm doing 6, so I'll cut those 6 times. Finally, I'm going to cut the little envelopes. Now, I will be die cutting these from gray, pink, and white cardstock. I will die cut each size 1 time in each color, and that is going to be for each individual card that I am doing. So I'll end up with 6 envelopes for 1 card. Okay, so that might have been a little confusing and a little fast. So here's a photo of all the different pieces that you're going to die cut and you're going to need for each individual card. So take this, multiply it by your number of projects, and that's how many times you need to cut each piece. So that is the prep work. Now comes the assembly. If you're teaching a class and you're using this for a class, this is the part that your students would do. This is super beginner friendly. All it is gluing and a little bit of stamping. So again, very beginner friendly. The first thing you want to do is put your mailbox together. So we'll take that large red mailbox, the full mailbox, and we're going to use liquid glue to glue on that little opening flap. You want to make sure this is lined up really well, and you don't need a ton of glue to glue this down. The less glue, the better. You don't want warpy cardstock whenever your project is done. Then on top of that red flap, we're going to glue down our little gray piece. This is going to be the inside of the mailbox. And this lines up perfectly, so all you need to do is add just the littlest bit of liquid glue and then line it up where that piece is. Now next up, we're going to go ahead and add our top piece of the mailbox. For this, we want it to be popped up a little bit, so I will use foam adhesive for this. Any kind of dimensional adhesive will work here. I just like foam adhesive. Now, your foam adhesive, you want to keep on the back part of that because we're going to tuck some letters in and you don't want that foam blocking those letters from going in. Once you have that, it's time to go ahead and add on our post. I like to add glue, liquid glue, to the top of the post, and then I line up my mailbox with that liquid glue. This is a lot easier than trying to fidget around with the post on the back of your mailbox. I just like to lay it on top, give it a good press, make sure it's nice and straight, and it's ready to go. Now, once that is on, it's time to go ahead and add our flag to finish off the mailbox. I like to use my quick sticks tool, but you can use your fingers just as easily. A little bit of liquid glue just on the bottom of the flag and then press it down. If you have any fallout or little squishes out the side of glue, this quick sticks tool is a breeze to clean it up with. Also, you can use not Q-tips, but toothpicks to clean it up as well. So our mailbox is done. Now it's time to add all the little additions. The first thing I want to start off with is the grass on the bottom. I'm taking this smaller, thinner piece of grass and I'll line it up with the bottom of the post, again using liquid glue to hold that in place. Once that grass is lined up and nice and secure, I can go ahead and flip my mailbox over. On the back of that mailbox, I'll be adding foam adhesive, and that's just going to get this mailbox a little bit of dimension and pop it away from that white cardstock panel in the background. You don't need a ton of foam adhesive, and I'm cutting mine in half so I don't have such a wide piece and it doesn't hang over the sides. Once I have that foam adhesive adhered, I'll go ahead and take the backing paper off. Once I have all of the backing paper off all of the pieces, I'm going to, before I put it on that panel, I want to go ahead and secure that back piece of grass. So I'll just take this grass, line it up with the first one on the bottom, and just give it a little press, and it's stuck now to that foam adhesive. Then I want this to also stick to the card panel, and I don't want it to fall off or kind of wiggle around or lift up a little bit. So I'll add a little bit of liquid glue to the back, and then I can go ahead and adhere this entire piece onto my white cardstock panel. I want to make sure that the whitest part of the mailbox is in the center. You don't want to line it up to where the entire mailbox is centered because then it will look off center with that little flap. Just make sure that the grass and the whitest part of the mailbox are in the center of your panel. Now it's time to tuck in our little letters. I'm using 3 on the outside. You can use any 3 you want. You can mix and match your colors. You can use pattern paper here if you want. Again, I chose a light gray, a white, and a pink. The pink and the gray cardstock have a little texture on them, so that adds a little something more, and you'll see that in the close-up photos in just a moment. I'm using liquid adhesive to secure those down, and again, that is why you don't want your foam to go all the way up to that front of the mailbox, because we need to be able to tuck those letters in. Now once those are in, it's time to add our sentiment. I'm using my Misty today to add my sentiment. However, you do not have to. You can simply use an acrylic block, and that's probably what you'll use if you're doing this in a stamping class. My sentiment is from the Wonderful Woodland Friends stamp set from MFT, and it's a very long sentiment. I don't want the entire thing on there, so I'm going to do some very simple masking. This is one of those techniques you could teach to a beginner stamper if you wanted to. If you don't, choose a different sentiment. Choose a shorter one. There are a ton of great line sentiments that are on the market, and I'll leave a few of those options linked down below. Then you only have to buy one stamp set and just split that stamp set up in between all the members of your class. I went ahead and stamped mine down with VersaFine Clair ink in Nocturne, which is a very nice, rich, crisp black ink. Now once that's done, all that's left is to put this card together. So that white cardstock panel is going to get a little bit of liquid adhesive. If you don't like liquid adhesive, you can always use a dry tape adhesive too and have it already prepped on the back of the card panels. And then all that your class needs to do is remove that backing paper and attach if you don't want to use liquid adhesive. The liquid adhesive I'm using is a Nuvo adhesive. I will leave the link to it down below in the description box as well. But another great option is Elmer's Glue All. Not just Elmer's Glue, the Glue All is great and it holds really well. Again, don't use a ton because you don't want warpy cardstock. Once the white panel is secure to the craft mat, you have that nice 1/8 of an inch mat around all sides. So there you get kind of that full picture of just going 1/4 of an inch larger. Once I have that, all that's left to do is apply the entire panel to the A2 top folding card base. Again, if you are not into top folding card bases, I get it. You can use a side folding card base for this design and it will look just as good. I'll make sure that's nice and secure and even on all the sides, and that is the card on the outside. Now this card is a little bit different because we're going to decorate the inside as well, and that's why we cut so many envelopes. We're still keeping it really simple, but on the inside I wanted to dress it up just a little bit. So we're going to take those 3 leftover envelopes, it doesn't matter which ones they are, you can use whatever ones you have, and just glue all of those envelopes that are left in the bottom left-hand corner, again with liquid glue. On the inside of your card, you really don't want to put dimensional adhesive, so keep it nice and flat. If you wanted to, you could also have a stamp available that you could stamp on the inside of your card too to finish it off, but I kept mine blank today. That is going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want more ideas like this for classes, leave me a comment down below and let me know. We'll see how this one goes. Don't forget all the information down in the description box, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, everyone, and happy crafting.